Senator Reynolds.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Well, here we are again, sadly, almost at the 12th month anniversary of this government's lack of transparency to this chamber. If only Minister Shorten and the Labor Party had spent the last 2.5 years not performing gymnastics in trying to find new ways to be not to provide any information to this place and to senators in this place, if they'd spent half of that effort for the last 2.5 years negotiating with states and territories in good faith, so by the time this legislation had come to this place, states and territories were ready to sign off on this. Instead, Minister Shorten has employed spin companies to spin this, to assist him to I was going to say to lie, but perhaps to not tell the truth to the sector, that, oh, there's no problem here. Remember before the last election, there's no problem with this scheme. The opposition, they don't know what they're talking about. And I seem to recall as late as last week Minister Shorten saying, oh, when I came into this portfolio, I had no idea that this scheme was in trouble. I mean, what? He couldn't read the budget papers, he couldn't read the quarterly reports, he couldn't read all of the other transparency documents that we in government actually made available. So now here we are again, nearly 12 months of those opposite and Minister Shorten not providing any transparency. They've provided the fourth quarter report after our last hearing with the actuaries so that we could not ask questions for information actually on that piece of legislation. But to be kind, this report is cooking the books before this legislation comes forward. It is very clear that this Q4 report is not worth the paper it is written on. So the government are now saying, oh yes, well, we're moderating costs down to 10.1% per annum. Well, actually, the truth is this. You take quarter on quarter, and it is actually, they've moderated it down to 18.88%. 18%. Quarter on quarter, fourth quarter to fourth quarter, it is still increasing. But how have they cooked the books? How have they cooked this quarterly report? Well, they've done it through at least two ways, which is what they're not providing us information on. The first thing is that there's between 50 and 60,000 participants who have got plan variations in because, guess what? The cost of living has gone up. The cost of the services they use have gone up, and they have run out of money, or they are about to run out of money in their plan. So instead of actually giving them an answer, this government, and give them more money, this government has got 50 to 60,000 participants who are desperately waiting for an answer. And guess what? So that shows the scheme has moderated until all of their plans are reassessed. And then the other way they've cooked this report is there are probably tens of thousands now of people who are waiting to come into the scheme. They have admitted there is an enormous backlog that they are not processing for technical reasons, which means they also then don't go onto the books and they're not paying for more people's plans. So not only have they completely stuffed up this process, they have caused untold anguish to 650,000 participants and their families who are in complete, I was going to say dismay, but it goes well beyond that. They are concerned for their life, for how they're going to live, and all because of the incompetence. Well, it's actually not even incompetence. It is, if you are incompetent and transparent, at least we would actually understand the figures and we could work with you to actually reform the scheme to make it sustainable. But by hiding the figures for 2.5 years, by conducting a review, which the minister has just come in and said, oh, well, we did this review and it reported in November. Well, yes, it did, but we still haven't got the government response to that report from November last year, so the sector doesn't even know what the government response is, but yet you've got this legislation here that the budget paper said 18 times we're going to fill your $60 billion gap, but you have not provided one single shred of evidence, including this OPD, on how you are going to do that. Australians with disability deserve so much more.